Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. And today I have a lovely couple with me as my guests, and we will be talking about life and ministry here in Seoul. We are in the same church together here in Seoul, and of course they are serving more in the capacity of full time and stuff like that. So let's discover how they're doing here in Seoul. And they are very good people, good friends of mine, and I'm sure you'll have a good time just interacting with them. So, welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So this is Pastor Dae. They will introduce more, but just the name Pastor Dae and of course his wife Miyuki.
Yuki.
So first of all, can you tell us, both of you, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Yeah, and then we'll go from there.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
So we're the Choos.
Choos.
Yeah. My name is Dae. Last name Choo. I was born in Korea, and then I moved to America when I was in third grade with my whole family. So I was raised in Los Angeles, and then I came back to Korea middle of my college years for military service, and then I ended up staying in Korea for. This is my 14th year now living in Korea. And then I met Miyuki. We got married, and now we have a son named Hanu, who's 3 years old.
Sure.
And then we have another one on the way.
On the way.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations.
Thank
yes.
you.
Yeah. We will talk about
Yes.
family a little bit later on as
Yeah,
well.
for sure. So basically, just that I'm Korean on paper, but American in terms of my brain and
Sure.
kind of lifestyle and how I process things.
Yeah.
And that's basically me in a very nutshell, I guess, the short.
Cool. Yes.
And then
Yeah.
this is
I'm Miyuki, and I am Japanese, but half Korean. My mom is Korean. I was born in Japan and grew up in Japan, so I consider myself as a Japanese.
Definitely, sure.
Yes, and I moved to Korea in 2018, January, for a seminary school, and I've been living in Korea ever since.
Right.
I was originally planning to go back to Japan after the school, but and ended up just staying here because I married him.
Yes.
Yes.
We will talk about your love story.
Yeah. So and I'm a mom
Sure.
for two.
Yeah.
Uh,
Great. Okay, so the obvious follow-up to that is how did you guys meet and how did you decide to, so give us a little thing on your
juice.
love story. Yeah.
Give you all the juice.
Yeah.
So in 2018, while I was serving at the current church that we're at, Onnuri English Ministry, I was serving as a part-time youth pastor, and then we were sent to Japan, Osaka, for a weekend English camp. 17. Okay, 17. Sorry.
You were not on the staff though yet.
I was working part-time.
I see.
Part-time as a youth pastor, and then we had received an invitation. We had received an invitation from the church in Osaka Onnuri Church, to host a English camp for them. So, long story short, we went to Osaka, and the person who actually invited us, she ended up becoming hospitalized. So then she was in charge of, I believe, the youth group, the youth group, and then Miyuki had to take over last minute. She didn't know anything, but she took over last minute, and she was serving as one of the teachers of the youth. And that's where we met. She ended up translating my sermon, and I thought, of course, she was beautiful, but
she is.
And I thought we had like a moment, but then I found out she had a boyfriend, so I didn't really want to.
At that time.
At the time, so I didn't want to be a homewrecker. So I just kind of was thinking to myself, like, what's a good way to stay connected, but not like cross the boundary, right?
Being professional.
Being professional, because
sure.
I didn't want to ask her for a phone number or kakao. That's what we use in Korea, but I ended up just like thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm gonna regret if I don't ask her for like something. So then I thought to myself, and I was like, oh, Facebook. Facebook is very public, right?
Sure,
So I was like, I asked her, I remember like, we're like standing around and I'm like, hey, do you have Facebook?
I remember that.
And then,
No other intentions.
no other intentions. Just to, share our
Sure.
ministry pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And to just kind of stay connected. Just, because in America, you meet somebody, you're like, hey, I'm a Facebook you, right? So
Sure.
we just do that all the time. So I thought it was very like casual enough, public enough. So I asked her Facebook, and thankfully she had a Facebook. So initially we were sharing pictures that we took throughout the ministry and sharing, talking a little bit. And I remember that she told me that she's coming to Korea because she's going to seminary, or she's going to start seminary.
I see.
So I come back home. This is like all within like a day or so. And then I come back home from Japan to Korea, and then we kind of finished talking about ministry and saying thank you. So I was like, hey, when are you coming to Korea? And then next thing I know, like, no response. So I'm like, okay, sure. Like, this is probably not meant to be. So I just was like, okay, bygones, whatever, whatnot. You could hear her side later on. Yeah. So after a few months, so 2017, October is when we met, middle of October. And then in 2018 February, all of a sudden, at the lobby of our church, I was at Sabingo. Sabingo campus. So we used to have English Ministry used to have the worship service at the main hall. So we would come down the stairs, and then I was talking to a group of my like English ministry friends. One of them was actually. We were 3 people that went to the English camp in Japan. So one of them actually was part of my team that went to Japan. And then I was talking, and then all of a sudden, like, I feel somebody grab my arm.
Whoa.
So I look, and then she's like, Dae? And I was like, oh, Miyuki, right? I was like so happy to see her. And then my teammate, who knew also, like, her, said hello. And then she knew that she was also dating. So, like, she was like, oh, how are you doing with your boyfriend? And then she was kind of like,
okay.
Oh, so she kind of like, I was like, I see. So, I was like, oh, okay, like this, perhaps something happened. And
Sure.
she may be single. So I caught that. And then we were trying to have a reunion with our team member that went to Japan, and also her. And then that same week that we said, okay, let's meet next week on a Saturday and then hang out. And then that same week, both of my teammates that went to Japan with me ended up needing to go back home to America and Canada. So I was like, hey, do you still want to meet? And then she was like, sure, okay. And then that's kind of how things began. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you for a while. So for Miyuki, you chose or decided not to reply him, but you chose to grab his arm. So what's the story?
Okay.
Yeah, no reply, but I'm going to grab his arm. So
right. The reason why I ignored him, it wasn't not really. I actually don't really remember because that conversation was not really important. I guess.
I see.
Because we're not dating.
Sure.
Well, I was
and
just
you had
a
something
teacher.
going on.
Yeah. I was dating someone else, and I was just youth teacher, and we were talking about the ministry. And like as soon as the conversation moved to private conversation, I'm like, maybe I thought like I don't have to reply, or I was busy too at the time because preparing for seminary school and stuff. So I just maybe forgot to reply, or like didn't really think it's important to reply.
Yeah, sure.
So that's how it happened.
Okay.
And the reason why I grabbed him was so as soon as I came to Korea in 2018 January. I started to explore other churches because I grew up in Onnuri. I came to Onnuri Church like in 2000, which when I was in elementary school, 3rd grade.
Here in Korea?
No, in Osaka.
Osaka.
Yeah. There's Onnuri, Osaka Onnuri Church.
Sure.
That's my home church, I would call. And so like I thought, because there are not many churches in Japan, Onnuri was the only church that I, experienced.
Sure.
But now I'm in Korea and like there's so many different churches.
Right.
that I can explain, experience. So I thought I would love to explore other churches, not like right away to Onnuri. So that's how I explored many different churches in January. But by the time like at the end of January, I was like feeling so like lonely and like tired, exhausted. Like I have so many things. Like there are so many things happened in my life too. In January, so I was so very like sick and tired of being by myself.
I see.
And I wanted to settle down like one church. So that's how I ended up going to Sobingo Onnuri, which I'm very familiar with. Sobingo Onnuri is some church that like I will come all the time when I'm in Korea. So I went to Sobingo Onnuri and I went to Japanese ministry. And after the worship and everything, I was just hanging out with Japanese ministry people.
Yeah.
So like there were so many people at the lobby after the worship. You know like what kind of environment, right?
Sure.
There were so many people, but like I could hear like English because that was the time
where English
service ended.
I see.
So I had so many like people speaking English, and like I was kind of happy to hear English too, because I'm in Korea. But anyways, I was talking to my people, and I could see there is another group. Like there's so many different groups, but there is another group next to me, and as soon I saw like there's huge human,
huge handsome.
I couldn't see handsome because he was like
backside.
backside. So the huge human, but I think I know this person. Like I'm familiar with him. Wow. And then I didn't like grab him like this.
Yeah, sure.
He always explained like I grabbed like this. But no, I didn't. From what
I couldn't see the arm. All I saw was the face, you know. So.
But anyway, like I'm like, oh, Dae? You know, with this like comforting emotion. It's not like
I see.
Oh, Dae? You know, it's not butterfly.
I see,
but I was so like homesick and like encouraged by seeing someone I met in Osaka.
Sure.
Yeah. So I was just so happy to see Dae. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, Dae.
Wow. So this.
But I took it as
became this. That's good.
We had different like emotion at that moment, but I was just so happy, and like I felt this is God's encouraging me.
Sure.
Yeah, God's comforting me.
Amen. Wow. So
God's comfort.
Yeah. It's a lovely. I mean, the way things turned around and how you guys. It's almost like a movie.
Yeah.
Right? It's beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure we'll explore more a little bit later on, but. So before you guys met each other, or even after you met, maybe before you got married and you got into ministry, when you were growing up as young people, single, what were your personal dreams? I mean, I know you were into sports a little bit, so just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my biggest my passions and dreams, I think it kind of changed over time. Especially when I was living in Korea versus like when I grew up in America.
Yeah.
So in Korea, like, when you're young, like you dream a lot of big dreams. So I wanted to be like a doctor.
Oh, really?
Well, especially because like my dad, he had an accident in the Korean army. So he ended up being in an accident where a radar machine blew up and then a piece hit his face, and then he had to be like sort of lifted from emergency helicopter and had to receive surgery and everything. So long story short, he ended up losing his sight. So my sort of goal and dream initially was to become a doctor so that I could cure my dad's eyes and also to help like other people, right? And then that dream kind of changed as I met friends, and then he wanted to be a veterinarian, so I was like, hey, veterinarian is like a doctor, so I changed my dream to that a little bit.
Why not?
And then I also dreamed like in Korea while I was living here, like maybe one day, because I dreamt about change. I don't know the reason why, but I always dreamt about like changing the world, right, somehow. So one of the ways I thought was like, hey, maybe I could become like president of career.
Oh, even
Yeah,
even
I haven't had that dream.
Sure.
Then going to America, like changed my whole like perception. And then my biggest, I guess, and most like passionate dream that I thought was achievable was actually being a professional athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So I played American football and basketball,
Mm.
and I thought that I could be actually the first full Korean person in the National Football League, like American Football League.
I see. So
So there was none. There was a part like mixed Korean and
really?
American
I see.
people, but never a full Korean person.
I see.
Until I think recently there was a guy who made it to the league.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of having that dream. But then I realized also that like there's a lot of politics involved because the color of my skin.
Sure.
Asian, playing a very like American sport. It had its limitations. But yeah, basically, just wanted to become that. I don't know how I became a pastor because this was something that I never really dreamt of. Because my dad moving to America, he became a pastor and he's doing special ministry towards blind people and stuff.
Sure.
So when pastor job, I was like, that's my dad's job, not mine, So, but yeah, I just ended up kind of taking a turn, and here I am after seminary,
Sure.
being a pastor.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go into that a little bit later.
I'll ask about that later. You can just share yours as well.
Okay. My
Your
passion.
dreams before your passion. What?
Think my goals,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, is always living a missional life.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it doesn't matter like wherever you go, like whatever you do, it doesn't really matter. But the reason I went to seminary school was also not to be a pastor or missionary, but just a little better at living a missional life.
Sure.
Yeah, that was my goal. So it's been like that like ever since. So, yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah.
But
you said you were also flying a little bit, right?
yes,
So
yes, I was flying.
How did that come about? Are you okay to share a little bit?
Yeah, it's pretty long story, but long story short, around the time I was like graduating college, like I thought I was gonna be like someone working at church.
Oh,
But I wasn't sure like what is working at church, because working at church means like either you become a pastor or admin, missionary, whatever. But I wasn't really thinking like in that sense. But I just really wanted to work for God. That was it. So I thought I was gonna, after I graduate, I will be working at church or for church or whatever. But around the time like I graduate, like I was kind of 방황해. What's 방황해? I was
like rebelling.
Like I was kind of lost a little bit after I came back from the States.
I see.
So I went to the States when I was in my last year of my school, university. After I came back from the States, I was lost because maybe I don't know, 뭐지? 너무 많이 놀았나?
Play too much.
Play too much.
America changes you.
Yeah, so I was lost. I mean, I never left God, I would say.
Yeah.
But I was lost. So I was thinking, like, what should I do after I graduate? Because all my friends, like other than me, their like future is like set. Like either going to like this company or that company, like
I see.
But mine was like not set and clear. And I was thinking maybe, I mean, I cannot do nothing.
Sure.
Right? So I have to do something and I have to find something to do. And I ended up like applying for an airline, which I was working for. Because my friend like told me, oh, there's Korean Air, which is, can I say Korean Air? Yeah.
Sure.
Korean Air is like hiring people, and my background matches to this company.
I see.
You know, like working as a Japanese flight attendant at Korean Air.
Ah, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that place matches like perfectly.
Right.
So I applied, and my paper passed, and the first meeting passed, interview passed, and the second interview passed, and like I ended up becoming a flight attendant. That's how I became a flight attendant.
I see.
Usually people, try like so hard to become a flight attendant, but I was just lost, and maybe I had to do something, and then I ended up becoming a flight attendant. So I wasn't really passionate about being a flight attendant at first, but as I started, I felt, this is actually like fit me.
Oh, I see.
This job.
Sure.
But I was a flight attendant only for 2 years.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Because I thought, so 한 1년쯤 하고.
Wait, you guys were not dating at that time?
No.
I met her after.
After.
Yeah. I was a flight attendant for.
So she was thinking like she'll just kind of do it for a year and then.
After a year being a flight attendant, I started thinking, I don't know if I want to do this for the rest of my life.
I see.
Yeah, because I don't think God created me to be a flight attendant.
Sure.
Then I started to reading through the Bible for 90 days.
Ooh.
Like read through whole Bible.
I see.
Within 90 days.
Okay, that's inspiring me now for.
I know, 90
project.
days. It's 90 days. 90 days, and praying as much as I read. So if you read 1 hour, I tried
Praying for an hour.
to pray for an hour.
Matching the time.
Sure.
Yeah, that's.
Ooh,
So I had that kind of special time
I see.
for myself
Okay.
as I was flying. So it was really difficult.
Oh, so you were flying and also doing this Bible?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was flight attendant for 2 years, but
Yeah.
like after a year, I started thinking,
I see.
like, I think I have to think about my future, like not forever flight attendant, but other than flight attendant.
Yeah, that would definitely take a lot of dedication because
Yeah.
I mean I know I have friends who also have been flight attendant who are still in that business, and how hectic the schedule is.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that is really inspiring. I didn't know that. Wow.
It was really, really, really hard. Like,
Sure.
if I share one story, like the maximum 3 flights you can have for one day.
Right.
Yeah, from the morning to night. Throughout the day, you can have 3 like short flights. So I had like one day I had that schedule, like 3 flights schedule. Like after the last flight, I go to the hotel and the time will be like around 11 or 11:30 at night. And I'm so tired, right? Like I was standing whole day in heel, and like my feet are burning, but I had to finish this like 오늘의 뭐지?
Today's portion.
Because if you want to read through whole Bible within 90 days, you have to read 1 hour every day. That will finish you. 1 hour every day, and you will finish 90 days. Yeah.
Amen. I'm so inspired right now.
I can
so
do
if you
it.
miss one day, you have to read 2 hours the next day. You know what I mean, right?
The average we have to make.
So I didn't want to miss the portion that day, but I was so tired, and like as soon as I sit down, I will just pass out. So what I did is I was walking around in my room, hotel room, and reading the Bible for an hour to finish my portion.
Wow.
After 3 flights.
Yeah, after 3 flights, and then I go to sleep.
Wow.
Amazing. That's how I managed. And sometimes, if you go to long flight, 4 days will be gone.
Sure.
Yeah, like leaving and like staying and like everything will be within 4 days. So if you miss 4 days, maybe like I have a day. I read 8 hours. I read Bible for 8 hours on my off day.
I see.
Yeah, that's how I did it. But so because of that 90 days, I decided to go to seminary school.
I see.
That's how I ended up, coming to Korea.
I see.
Yeah.
Wait, did you come to Torch? No, right?
No, other school.
You were
to a Presbyterian.
University.
I see. Okay, wow, thank you for that inspiring.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really, I don't know, I have not heard any story. Really, I've not heard it.
Yeah.
Amazing, wow.
Yeah,
So,
but that time was really precious for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how is it, and I mean, just to connect with you, how is it being a pastor's wife right now? Did you kind of prepare a little bit in your mind before, or did it?
Not really, because I believe being a pastor's wife maybe is a special thing, but I also think it's not a special thing, because I've been thinking, as I said, my goal is living a missional life.
Right.
And if I could, I want to do that more directly and deeply. That's why I went to seminary school, and that just let me be a pastor's wife, I think.
Wow.
Because if I want to live that life,
Sure.
my partner has to be the one who wants to live that life too. So
it's everything fell into its place. It's so beautiful. Sure. So, which automatically means that you have a very supportive wife.
Yes. Yes.
Quite sure.
Yes.
So I'm sure you have a good devotional life, just knowing from your personal life itself. But I will ask a little bit about that as well. But for Dae, you are in the youth. Of course, you are an associate pastor overall as well, but you are especially in charge of the youth.
Mm-hmm.
So just share a little bit about what it's like, serving the youth, the challenges, and also the joys of serving in the ministry.
So I guess just kind of to go back a little bit, I never thought that I'd be a pastor. And I think even coming to seminary, it was such a huge challenge for me, because it's something that I never dreamt of. And me, kind of having a very, I guess, to choose the word, dynamic set of experiences and just sort of living crazy life. I just never thought that I'd be a pastor, because I've spoken before, my dad's a pastor, and when people ask me, hey, I'd be like, no, it's my dad's job. So the funny thing is, I told God that I'll never do two things. So one is becoming a pastor, and the other one is coming to Korea. And God showed me that He is God by making me become a pastor in Korea, right? And then becoming a youth pastor was, I actually had more passion for college people, because it's a time where I really sort of had the roughest time with my faith and in life, and it's a time where a lot of people, we lose a lot of people, because when kids go to college, that's when they gain their independence, right? So I wanted to help those who have sort of been through rough time, or are sort of seeking and exploring, and that are lost to find their way, because I once was in their shoes. But then one day in seminary, while I was here at Torch, one of my classmates, was like, hey, are you serving anywhere? And I was like, nah, right? And then he's like, do you want to, come serve at the youth? Because we're looking for a youth pastor. And I was like, no, because I was like, I don't even know what to teach these guys, First and foremost, I only thought that I could teach them what not to do, not what to do. But then my friend, talking to different people, and I just mentored my dad also, they were saying that's a great place to start, because some of these kids don't even have a mentor or a father figure in their life where they're even able to learn what not to do. So, with that just kind of in mind, and of course talking to my dad extensively, I decided to take the leap of faith, because perhaps this is what God wanted me to do. So I just kind of, just decided to follow, because my whole thing about seminary was because I learned about Torch actually a month before the admissions were due. Right?
I see.
So this was right after I graduated from college, thinking about my future, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I've done internships at like businesses, and I'm like, I don't think I could do this for the rest of my life. My first passion, actually, like my only passion in life was actually to make a lot of money because I wanted to retire my parents, right? So that's why I majored in international business and stuff like that. But yeah, so I told God, like, you know, there's a month before admissions is over. God, if you allow me to if you open this door, then I will do everything in my power to just like listen and obey. Because God had made me remember the prayer that I prayed to Him when I was in youth group, actually. Telling God, like, I want to be used by you. Right? Naively thinking, like, I just prayed, like, Lord, I want to live for your kingdom. You know, I want to be, you know. I remember that prayer. But then, like, all of a sudden, you know, after college, thinking about my future, like, He reminded me of that dream. And I was like, oh, no. And then I talked to somebody, and they're like, do you want to learn more about, you know, God? And then they told me about church. And then a month into, like, admissions were due. And the next thing I know, I got accepted. The next thing I know, you know, the hands being extended so that I could come to become a youth pastor. So I'm like, okay, God, like I really have no clue. And I visited the youth group one time, and then I don't know, I just had this like heart.
Sure.
And I think it was just inherited where I'm like, I want to be here, and if anything, I want to just be their big brother. And a mentor figure, but more than that, like I just want them to know the love of Jesus Christ.
Sure.
Like as I remember that like my youth group years were so foundational for my faith.
Sure.
Because if I didn't have my youth group days, then I think I would have still been lost in the world. Maybe even have, you know, not even be here at this moment. So just kind of remembering that, I just wanted to give back.
Sure.
And then just, you know, being in youth group, of course, I've been sort of involved with the youth now for I started in 2016, so it's about 7 years, 8 years. I would say the biggest challenge of being in youth group is, especially in Korea, I think some kids are fortunate that they're able to go to Christian schools, but a lot of the kids, they go to public schools, and public schools, they teach a different, like, sort of paradigm, like worldview. So the clashing of the worldviews is very difficult, I think, because at school, they're learning about evolution and like all these different things, and then at church, they're trying to learn about God, and they don't know how to like mix the two, or even to keep God at the center of all things. And this is where I believe family is so important, because they need to play that role of the bridge, right? Because if you have a healthy family and a family that's sort of worshiping God and parents that are showing them how to live out their faith, the kids are able to learn. But then in Korea, unfortunately, the parents are usually out working, and the kids, their sole focus for the kid is to get to a good college. So academics is very important in their life. So they end up studying at school, and then after school they go to academy, and then they come home at nighttime, and their whole day is just full of just kind of, you know, academics. So because of this disconnect, I think the kids, their worldview is hard to be set in the right path. And then instead of them somehow affecting the culture is affecting them a lot more. And then my job as a youth pastor is to help them to sort of at least experience what it is to be like Christ-centered, at least at the church. But then a lot of times they try, you know, they bring that school like culture to the church. And they don't really interact with one another, and then it's very hard to like kind of get them united. So that's been one of the most difficult things, being a youth pastor, where I need to know their culture, but at the same time, like, how do I help them navigate so that they can really live out the Christian life, not only at the church, but also in their schools, where nowadays, especially nowadays, Christianity is declining. And I asked them, like, how many other Christians are there in your classroom? And they end up saying they're like the only ones, as opposed to like years before, there would be a lot more Christians, So so Korea is also very changing, and I think it's just difficult for them to sort of be grounded in their faith.
Sure. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think I must say you are really the right person for this kind of ministry, because we can see very easily that the young people relate to you so well, and I think even in the C3 or the youth. So I think Korea, definitely the young people. I was not really aware too much about this, but in one of the recent incidents that we had, actually I will not name, but some of our young people, very young youth, we were asking them a little bit about some of the worldviews, the issues, and they seem to know a lot, and it's not the Christian view, And then we realized that I believe they don't have any teaching on the Christian side. So exactly what you said. So so I'm sure God will, may God do great things even through you. I mean, however, how long you may say, I don't know, but thank you for that sharing. Can I ask a little bit about your family life? How do you, juggle between ministry and family? I know it's not uncommon in this ministry that a lot of family end up being burned out, and a lot of issues like that. So please share, how do you manage this whole business, the two sides of it?
How do you manage?
Me? I do my best to sort of keep my Sabbath in some sense. In Korean church culture, that is very
difficult
or unheard of. Because also, like, the older generation, their principles were built on like sacrifice.
Sure.
Serving means sacrifice. Of course, I do agree to that, and I'm not saying we need to not sacrifice, but I also strongly believe that first place of ministry has to be family, because if you don't have strong family, then you won't have strong ministry. Right? And God has given me, Miyuki, as a gift and a blessing, and the children as a gift and a blessing. And if I am not able to serve my family, then I don't think I'm setting a good example anywhere else.
Sure.
So I just try my best to keep work at work, meaning like keep church work at church, and then try to set apart at least Monday, if that's my Sabbath day. So try not to do any ministry related work and just focus on family. And even if I'm tired, I'll try to do the house chores and cook and clean and different stuff so that I could just help out my wife. So
sure. And you can share from your side as a wife, mom. How do you?
I don't know. Because I don't really think these two separately.
Sure.
Like, it's always same. It goes back to like living a missional life.
Right.
Yeah, that is my life, and I will choose to live that life.
Sure.
So but I believe in I believe in God, that God will give us, like, when we need a rest, God will give us a rest, and when we need to do some work, I have to do that work, and which is like raising a kid, raising kids right now for me. So I'm just So I don't know.
Wow.
It's good because she's very understanding.
I must say she's the perfect pastor's wife.
So like, if I need to do something, like, she'll just be like,
go ahead, do it hard.
As long as I let her know, like, I don't really have any problems.
Can't get better than that. Sure. Wow, I'm so again so inspired by that. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and just so you know, I know you're always available, but I try not to text on Monday because I know you Sabbath.
I always get that. Let me know. Like, I know it's your Sabbath.
But Anyway, so I mean that's how often do you have your family? How do you can you just share a little bit about your devotion routine as a family so people can also kind of be encouraged? Mm.
So there's not too many times where I feel like we're able to have that devotion time together, to be
Right.
honest, because we're on different schedules.
Mm.
But recently, and we've done this before, where like during COVID, we would just kind of do devotion together for like a whole month, and
Yeah.
then we'll share. We'll do the devotion, and then we'll share at the end of the day what God has spoken to us.
Mm.
And recently, we've been doing that again on Mondays after we send Hunter to his daycare. We have our kind of date, right? We go cafe, eat together, and then while we're at the cafe, we'll kind of do our devotion, and then like I ask her to share like how did God speak to you, and then we just kind of do that. But more so than that, I just trust that she will hold up her end of the bargain,
Sure.
and then as I do mine, and then especially if there's like a major decision or something like that, we'll just pray together. And every night, actually, before putting Hannah to sleep, we will pray together as a family.
Sure.
I think that's the time when we pray together.
Mm.
And honestly, if I say I think this is our like weak part of our family. I think I will say I'm thinking like we should pray and worship more together.
Sure.
But because we're too busy to do, like ministry outside of the house. So, yeah, this is something we need to work on more,
Yeah, sure.
I believe, yes.
Sure.
But we do pray every day together because of Hannah. So, in that sense, like Hannah is really a blessing for us.
Sure.
He loves praying. He keeps
Oh.
telling
He
me
keeps
to pray.
telling us to
really?
pray.
Yeah.
Wow,
He does like,
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
So I'm like, all right, let's pray again, Father God.
Be a man of prayer. Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Why not? Okay, so we will try to end this a little bit now. But any words of encouragement or advice to young people who are also planning to enter into a relationship, date somebody, and also maybe perhaps wondering whether they should be in the ministry or so any some words of advice based on your experience as well.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Okay, we can go first.
Me, I think it's applicable for any area. First is always to keep God first and to know your priorities. Because if you do not keep God at the center of all things, then we end up just kind of leaning on our own understanding. And it's actually one of the passages that we recently meditated on during our devotion. Proverbs 3:5-6.
Sure.
I trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit or acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. So, to kind of keep God first and to have Him centered. In terms of relationship, how can you love without God, who is love, right? That's kind of that kind of love is not really real, right? And then in terms of like ministry, I think that's one of the biggest challenges where doing for God is not the same thing as being with God.
Sure.
Right? So in all things, do with God and just to know that the Lord will be by your side and He will lead you to the right path, to His grace if you continue to just kind of remain in Him, right? Apart from Him, we cannot do anything. So,
Amen.
Personally, I don't want to encourage everyone to go to seminary school.
Sure.
I mean, being a pastor, being a missionary is really important. We still have a need, for many pastors, missionaries to go out and do the ministry. But I want to encourage young people or next generation to find individual passion. Like for example, like in your case, like you have a passion in music, and like that. Like I want everyone to find their own passion or like their gifts from God, like what's given to them. and then you do and use that for God's kingdom.
Sure.
But do it hard, put all the efforts
Sure.
on that,
Sure.
so that you can, do whatever you can do for God's
Sure.
kingdom. So, yeah, I usually don't recommend everyone to go to seminary school, because that's not the only
Yeah, absolutely.
way.
I mean, I think that is true for every other field as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so just to sum up, I think it's like find your passion, gift that God has given you, but keeping God as always as the center, and living a missional life, regardless of whether you are in the ministry, wherever you go as a Christian. I think that is really important. So
Yes.
that's beautiful. Yeah. Would you like to share Bible verses? Do you have any favorite family Bible verse or individual verse that you would like to share? This will be our last bit for the thing.
Do you know my favorite? Do you know?
Psalm 23.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Psalm 23. Sure.
Yes.
Of course.
Psalm 23.
I don't know here, but back home we used to kind of have like a family verse or something. Do you have anything like that, or not really?
We should set one.
I think Psalm 23 probably.
I see.
It's a verse that
Lord is my shepherd.
kind of sets the tone for our life, as she talked about missional life, and me talking about keeping a Christ-centered life.
Right.
It's, if you know the Lord is your shepherd, then you have nothing to worry about, and you continue to try to follow His voice, right? Because good sheep.
Do you have any other verse in your mind?
The only other verses that I could think about is the verse that pertains to 하늘, which is Psalm 19. Heavens declares the glory of God. So we as the heavens declare.
So was that how he was named? Not really.
Kind of, not really.
나중에
We ended up.
I was thinking that verse as I
I
was
see.
thinking his name, because 하늘 means heaven.
Heaven, yeah, sure.
More heaven, like not sky but heaven.
Yeah.
In the Bible. So I wanted him to be a person who
declares the glory of God.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you. I think we can wrap up on that note. You have shared a lot today, and just listening to you, I have already listened. I had listened a little bit before. I know a little bit of your story, but all the things that you've shared today, a lot of things are new and really inspired. So yeah, I'm really inspired. Thank you for sharing your story, and I know you will continue to be a blessing, not only in Onnuri, but wherever you go, people that you meet. And of course, we know the new family member, a baby girl, is on the way.
Yes, Bada.
Bada, yes. Bada means ocean.
Ocean.
Yeah. So we
Sky
have
and
heaven
waters.
and the ocean.
Waters.
So I kind of wish that I could be there when she arrives. I'm not sure.
Video chat.
Yeah. But anyway, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yeah. God bless you in all that you do. And thank you for this time today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Okay.